When I say it's just a reporting bill, it truly is a reporting bill, and it's something Europe has been doing for decades. And what it is in the United States is we have the wild, wild west of what's going on with human embryos.
Welcome back to Searchlight Report, a podcast from South Dakota Searchlight. I'm Megan O'Brien, and our podcast brings you up to date on policy and politics in the Mount Rushmore state. In this week's episode, we're looking at the winners and losers that are beginning to emerge from dozens of proposed property tax relief bills, the fight over data centers, a new facility for a pork plant in Sioux Falls, and a bill that would allow privately run schools to receive public dollars, plus some fun with guest gavelers from the state Senate. But first, you just heard from Republican Representative Terry Jorgensen from Piedmont. She introduced a bill that would require the state's Department of Health to collect data on in vitro fertilization, or IVF, and other fertility treatments.
Without reliable numbers on cycles, embryos created, transferred, success rates, live births, we fly blind. What are the outcomes? Good data informs better policy and better care, exactly as our cancer registry and vital statistics systems do every day.
Fort Pierre Republican Representative Will Mortensen said that information is personal and might deter people from going through IVF.
I'm very proudly pro-life, have been ever since I announced I was running for this. I'm also very pro-baby. Those two things are not disconnected. I really like babies. I think they kind of like me. I have kind of a cartoonish face a little bit. They seem to really cotton to that. This is a regulation that begins to stifle and suppress IVF. Some of the very best people in this state have become parents because of IVF. They've become grandparents because of IVF. They've become aunts and uncles and godparents. This is a technology that we should be celebrating and not just starting to regulate.
25 House members voted to support the bill and 42 voted to defeat it. Funding for public schools isn't expected to get much of an increase this year because of sluggish sales tax revenue. Opponents of a bill approved by a Senate committee worry it could strain public schools even more. The bill would allow charter schools in the state. Those are publicly funded, privately run, and tuition-free schools. They receive public dollars based on how many students they enroll. Senator Lauren Nelson, a Yankton Republican, introduced the bill. It would allow a school to be in charge of its staffing so long as it complies with certain state standards. Supporters of the bill say charter schools provide specialized opportunities for students who might struggle in a traditional classroom.
My name is Charlie Bufalino, and I work with the National Alliance for Public Charter Schools. Charter schools are exempt from many additional education laws governing traditional public schools. This gives charter schools the flexibility to design innovative education models with complete autonomy over staffing, curriculum, support services, and other aspects of the learning environment.
Those who oppose the bill say it could drain public school budgets.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Rob Munson, Executive Director for School Administrators of South Dakota. As you know, our student funding formula, our teacher salaries, everything is based on the number of bodies in the seats. You can talk about it being a teacher ratio all you want, but it is truly number of students in the seats. So if we start to siphon students off and send them to this charter school, it's going to have an impact on all schools, but it's certainly going to have an impact on rural schools more than larger schools.
Senator Jamie Smith, a Sioux Falls Democrat, says parents who want more from their children's schooling should go to their local school board.
Now, if your school district is refusing to allow for creative solutions to problems that exist, work with your school board. Put pressure on them. Say, we can do this different. We can do this better. The systems are already in place. We do not need to open this up to then take funding away from our already underfunded public schools.
The bill lost on a 17-17 tie vote in the Senate. A recent decision by the state Supreme Court allows Lieutenant Governor Tony Venhuizen to break Senate ties while he's presiding over the chamber, but he sealed the bill's fate by choosing not to cast a vote in favor of the legislation.
My general idea is that I'm not going to break a tie unless it is a bill that I feel strongly about weighing into, or that the administration feels strongly about weighing into. And on bills that we aren't really taking a position on one way or the other, I think most of the time it makes sense to let the legislative process play out and senators can move to reconsider and try to find a vote to flip their way and pass it if they want, and that's what's happened on those bills. So.
The possibility of a tie existed because of the absence of Sioux Falls Republican Senator Arch Beal, who's been sidelined by health problems the entire legislative session. Of the dozens of bills that Governor Larry Roden has signed into law this session, one of the first to address property taxes is a relief bill for veterans. The homes of veterans who have lost both of their legs or lost the use of both of their legs are currently exempt from property tax. The new law would allow those veterans or their surviving and unmarried spouses to apply for up to 4 years' worth of refunds on those property taxes if they missed prior application deadlines or if they missed the deadline to have their home classified as owner-occupied. Many other property tax bills are still pending. A handful are moving toward their next hearings. Roden's proposal to use an optional county sales tax saw success in its first committee hearing.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jim Terwilliger, and I serve as a commissioner with the Bureau of Finance and Management. In this position as Commissioner of BFM, I serve as an appointee for Governor Roden working on budget and tax policy matters. The plan in Senate Bill 96 is simple. It's optional. It's targeted at the areas of the state that need property tax relief the most. It would target owner-occupied property tax relief by providing each county with the option to directly reduce owner-occupied taxes by replacing property tax revenue with a county sales tax of up to 0.5%.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Nathan Sanderson, I'm the Executive Director of the South Dakota Retailers Association. Why are we opposed to Senate Bill 96? Well, if Minnehaha or Lincoln County implements this, they increase their sales tax by 0.5%. Any individual who doesn't live in those counties, who then spends money in those counties, is using their sales taxes, their dollars, to subsidize property taxes for the owner-occupied homeowners in those counties.
The bill received a committee's endorsement and awaits action by the full Senate. The state's on its third year of a reduced sales tax rate after lowering it from 4.5% to 4.2%. That reduction will expire next year. There are proposals to capture revenue from the rate increase and use it to reduce property taxes for homeowners. Senate President Pro Tempore Chris Carr, a Sioux Falls Republican, wants to keep sales tax at 4.2%. He said it's unfair to expect sales tax revenue to contribute to property tax credits when not everyone pays property tax.
It's a broad tax cut that minimizes market disruptions. So we're not talking about a new tax cut. We're not talking about changing the rate. We're talking about preventing an automatic tax increase from happening without another vote of this body. Stability matters in South Dakota. Stable, low sales tax helps maintain revenues for the state. It gives families, business, and local governments certainty they need to plan ahead.
The state Senate tied on the first vote, then defeated it after reconsideration. Opponents to the bill say the state is falling behind in its obligations to state employees, public education, and Medicaid providers. In the other chamber, a different Sioux Falls Republican wants to raise the sales tax and use the revenue to lower owner-occupied property tax. Representative Tim Sismowski says the sales tax increase would happen over 2 years.
So what does this bill do? First item is it proactively provides funding for a 2% annual wage increase for K through 12 education and technical college personnel, along with state employees and Medicaid providers. The second thing it does is it provides funding for meaningful owner-occupied tax relief in the sum of 29 to 44%, which is a decrease per home of 29 to 44%. It adjusts the state sales tax in 2 different steps. The first year, it takes it from 4.2 to 4.7%, and in year 2, it takes it from 4.7 to 5%. The funds that are generated from that adjustment will provide that annual wage increase and the owner-occupied property tax relief.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Derek Johnson, representing the Bureau of Finance and Management today. And while we appreciate the intent to provide property tax relief, we have some concerns about the structure and implications of this bill. Counties with relatively lower property tax pressure may not need relief, yet they will still bear the impact of higher sales taxes. Changing the sales tax rate is not just a simple adjustment. It requires significant administrative work for the state and for retailers.
That bill was approved by a committee and awaits action by the House of Representatives. I'll be back with more news after this break.
Hi, this is Seth Tupper, editor at South Dakota Searchlight. Our team covers the most important conversations happening at the state capitol every day of the legislative session. We cover plans to tackle property tax relief and funding for public schools, as well as conversations around reproductive rights and data centers. You can find all that and more at SouthDakotaSearchlight.com, where you can also subscribe to our free newsletter and donate to sustain our journalism into the future.
A long-standing factory known for its wafting odor over Falls Park in Sioux Falls will be moving to a new part of town. Smithfield Foods will build a new pork plant in northern Sioux Falls next year and open for operation in 2028. It'll replace the long-standing downtown facility that sits near Falls Park. The $1.3 billion facility will be at Foundation Park near the intersection of Interstates 29 and 90. Governor Larry Roden says the project is the largest business investment in the state's history.
This project will expand our producers' market reach, and it will drive economic activity across the state of South Dakota. So it's a huge win for agriculture in South Dakota. And the company's decision to relocate from downtown Sioux Falls also opens up great opportunity.
The state is contributing $12 million from the Future Fund, a pool of fees paid by employers that's under the governor's exclusive control. Philanthropist T. Denny Sanford is donating $50 million to help the Sioux Falls Development Foundation take ownership of the existing Smithfield site. Sioux Falls Mayor Paul Tenhaken is excited for the future of the area.
So Denny bought a pork plant. But as a result of that, our community is going to be receiving 120 acres in the core of our downtown at the head of our namesake park, Falls Park, 120 acres. It's going to be quite a few years before we're doing anything on that land. So I just want to keep everyone's expectations in line. It's going to be a little while, but the process is rolling. So the next administration, future leaders, you all are going to have a chance to dream and to vision and to ideate on what the future of our community can look like at the Sanford District.
Sioux Falls also plans to create a $90 million tax increment financing district for the project. The districts are also known as TIFs. They capture revenue from the new and higher property taxes generated by development projects to pay off the financing that helps the projects get started. That often involves infrastructure such as streets and connections to water and sewer lines. One of the biggest topics up for debate this legislative session is data centers. Some lawmakers want more tax incentives to bring data centers to the state, while others want to restrict or pause data center development. One successful push comes from Senate President pro tempore Chris Carr, a Republican from Sioux Falls. His bill proposes a data center bill of rights for citizens.
We know that data centers are amongst the most energy-intensive facilities in the world. This bill guarantees that residential customers will not be forced to subsidize data centers through rate increases and cost shifting. It recognizes local control. Decisions about siting and scale remain local, not mandated by the state. And it protects our water. Water is finite and essential. Data centers must demonstrate compatibility with local water supplies.
The Senate approved it this week, and it'll now move to the House of Representatives for further consideration. The bill originally banned new tax exemptions for data centers. The Senate stripped that provision out while noting it could come back to the House as work on the language continues. A Senate committee also approved a bill from State Senator Casey Crabtree, a Madison Republican. His bill would expand an existing sales tax rebate program for large companies like the ones that own data centers. The program offers rebates on sales taxes paid for upgrading equipment or constructing or expanding a building.
Mr. Chair, Joe Fiala, Deputy Commissioner, Governor's Office of Economic Development. We think this is the best path forward of all of the ideas that have kind of been put forward. This is the right path. So in this particular case, with these large projects, we're going to do an analysis of the sales tax that they would pay. We would track that, and at the end of the project, we would have the ability to say, hey, look, you've done what you've said. That sales tax that you were going to pay, you do not have to pay it at the end of the project.
Several other data center bills are also pending. I'll be back with more news after this break.
At a time when the federal government is making drastic changes to public policy and pushing so many programs back to the states, it's hard to know what it all means for you, your family, and your community. Our Evening Wrap newsletter from States Newsroom keeps you up to date on what your elected officials are doing or not doing to manage the fallout. You can sign up by going to statesnewsroom.com/subscribe.
Lastly, there's been a few different people swinging the gavel in the state Senate this week.
Senate will come to order. Members of the Senate, I want to introduce our gavel hitter here. This is, step forward. This is Sophia Carley, daughter of Senator Carley. She hit the gavel the hardest that anyone's hit it this year. This block jumped probably 6 inches in the air. Very impressive. Good work. Let's give her a round of applause.
Earlier this week, Lieutenant Governor Tony Venhuysen's son, Henry, had the gavel-hitting responsibility.
Well, I enjoy having kids up to do that. I know past presidents of the Senate have done that as well, and it's just a neat opportunity for them to participate in the Senate process and see it from that perspective. Not a lot of people get to see the Senate from that perspective, and I've had my kids up there. I've had kids and grandkids of other legislators up there, and it's just something kind of fun. It lightens the mood a little, I think.
That's all we have for this week on Searchlight Report. The podcast is based on reporting by South Dakota Searchlight's staff, editor Seth Tupper, senior reporter John Holt, and reporters Joshua Heyer, Mackenzie Huber, and me. I write the scripts and produce the audio with editing by Seth Tupper. Audio this week came from recordings by South Dakota Searchlight and legislative live streams provided by South Dakota Public Broadcasting. South Dakota Searchlight is part of States Newsroom, the nation's largest nonprofit news organization. Until next time, I'm South Dakota Searchlight's Megan O'Brien with the Searchlight Report.